Hello, everyone. This is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what's up, everybody? It's Wes, and if you are a fan of Georgia sports, you are in a rare state of sports euphoria right now, as the Atlanta Braves are your World Series champions. And well, there's some other good news for Georgia sports, and we'll talk about that later in the form of CFP rankings. So, but yeah, without further ado, as always, to join me and discuss, Jesse, what's up?
You know, I made the promise that I was willing, and I am fully prepared to follow through. I'm willing to sacrifice all other Georgia sports for the Braves to win a World Series. So universe, kind. I know, universe, if the Falcons need to lose, if UGA needs to lose, if the Hawks, whoever it is that needs to lose, take them down. We're fine. We're happy. We're elated. Did we cry? A little. A bit. A lot of it.
Matt, what's going on?
You can take down the rest.
I got to tell you, I'm excited that it feels like 1995 again, except I'm a lot older and a little bit bigger. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm not the biggest baseball fan. Like, I like baseball. I mean, I'm wearing a baseball hat. Shout out to the Making Bacon.
Right.
I like baseball. I'm happy the Braves won, but I'm not on everybody else's level right now. And again,
everyone's happy the Braves won.
Well, yeah,
because it was against the Astros.
Well, that too.
I was going to say, they were showing maps of, who's cheering for whom. And it was like a single spot in the middle of Houston was cheering for the Astros.
Now, I want to be clear here. I definitely watched most of the games and definitely was rooting for the Braves. But yay.
Yeah.
I thought for certain the Astros were going to win it. That was my pick, was the Astros in 6. But I was wrong again.
I mean, until the last out, we were up by 7. I was sweating. Because I was not comfortable. I was uncomfortable.
28-7. Is that what you say to Atlanta fans?
Yeah.
To trigger them?
Or whatever. Yeah. Jesse, it could have been 20-0 in the final inning. And I'm not getting excited until I see them hoisting the trophy. And no.
I was texting my boyfriend. I was like, I can't breathe. And he was like, don't you dare get excited. I was like, I'm not, but I might cry still.
I saw somebody on my feed posted, and this is before the end had happened, mind you. They said, congrats on the Atlanta Braves becoming world champions. And I was like, you take that down right now.
Take it down right now. Well, it was like, I think it was after Dansby's home run, and the announcer said something to that where it's like, it looks like they're on the path to a world championship. And I audibly by myself was like, shut up.
Right.
Don't you say it. Stop talking.
Don't you put that voodoo on us.
No. I was like,
exactly.
Don't do that.
Did y'all know that I was single-handedly responsible for Team USA losing the 2012 World Cup?
Are you serious?
I am.
No. What did you
do? In that elimination game, I think they were playing
Ghana?
No, they beat Ghana that year, I think. I can't remember who they were playing, but whatever game they were playing for their elimination, they were up like 2 goals to none, and there was like 20 minutes left or something. I don't remember, but I was like, the U.S. has got this in the bag. And then Tim Howard, excuse me.
Tim Howard.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Tim Howard had a stroke and gave up like 2 goals in like 2 minutes. It's something my wife has never let me live down.
As she should.
Because she was there, and she's like, this is your fault because you said they got this in the bag and then they ended up losing. And I said, I'll wear that. That's me.
Well, as a Georgia fan, hopefully this sets things in motion. But we'll see.
We'll
downhill.
No.
Lots more. Yeah. Hey, trust me, I've been there, done that.
There is a stat out there, Wes. I think I texted to you. Every time the Braves have played in the World Series, the University of Georgia has not won a national championship.
You tweeted it at me, and I think I responded, this is why rules, and I don't condone this, but this is why rules were made to be broken. So So we'll see what happens. But yeah, concluding our multi-sport intro, let's go ahead and get into the games of last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. Well, these two teams were truly fighting for last place in the SEC. That was Mizzou at Vanderbilt. And Mizzou ended up winning this one 37-28. Matt got the point in this one. Mizzou gets their first conference win while Vandy remains winless in the conference. Kind of a sloppy game, although Tyler Beatty continues to be a bright spot for Mizzou's offense. 31 carries, 254 yards. That's good. I don't care who you're playing against. And 2 touchdowns on the day. So, Jesse, let's start with you first on this one. What are your thoughts on this fight for the bottom?
This is sad. I mean, any Mizzou fan that thought you had hope, you let Vandy put up 28 points and 380 yards. That's
more of the
bad.
same.
Like, woof.
Yeah.
Also, if I'm Beatty, that transfer portal might be looking good. I'm not gonna like wish that bad juju on you. I'm just saying, if I were a player, I'm putting up stats like that. I'm on a team that is on the decline, like a very steady, steep decline. I might be looking to see who needs me.
It's a fair point.
I don't know.
Yeah. Matt, what were your thoughts on this one?
Again, both of these teams, and granted, Tennessee has the same record as Missouri, so I can't say too much, although we did smack them around a little bit earlier this season. Both these teams are near the bottom tier of the SEC East. Like we said, Vanderbilt's been winless in conference play so far. And like you said, this wasn't a pretty game. A lot of yards given up by both defenses. In fact, Vanderbilt's running back got 152 yards on the ground. That should tell you something right there about how awful Missouri's defense is.
Their leading rusher is their quarterback. Right.
Yeah, excuse me. So yeah.
He had a fun day.
So yeah, I bet he'd probably need the next day off. Probably nice and sore. Again, this is one of those situations where I'm kind of looking at it going, what happened to Missouri? Because we were talking about Missouri being, number 3 or number 4 in the SEC East at the beginning of the season. We were talking about Connor Bazelak being an SEC quarterback, and he went 22 for 28 for 218 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Yeah. That's
his draft stock. I would be curious.
I don't know.
Who do you think right now he gets drafted tomorrow? What team does he go to, and what round? And I know rounds don't matter. Tom Brady, I get it.
But it's also, I mean, for him, I think it's still early. Last year we saw flashes, and so we expected a lot. A lot of guys experienced that sophomore slump, right? We've seen it with a lot of quarterbacks, or not just quarterbacks, over the years. So we'll see what he does with it going into next year, and we'll see. I mean, I have to also wonder if it has something to do with development there too, and the ability for the staff to develop their quarterbacks. So
what is he a sophomore or a junior?
Pretty sure he's a sophomore, right? Because I think he was a freshman when he came in last year and had a few good games. I thought so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to Georgia versus Florida down in Jacksonville. Georgia winning this one 34-7. Interesting game. So I got the point. Jesse, you and I both had the same differential here, so we had to do the math there. But really odd game here, because up until 2:35 left in the first half, Georgia was only up 3-0. Like, it was one of those deals where we were getting close to halftime, and I'm like, this one might be the one. this might, like that feeling where you should be beating a team, but you've been letting them hang around, and that letting them hang around just gives them more confidence, and you don't know what's going to happen then. Now, the defense played really great, as they have done, all season, but The offense really kind of struggled here. Stetson Bennett had 2 really bad picks. It wasn't like a tip ball or whatever. I mean, these are like long balls that just floated up in the air for an eternity, way underthrown, and were picked off. And you could argue maybe it was the wind. I don't know, but still 2 of them. And fortunately, we had the defense there to step up. So I mentioned the 2:35 left in the first half. 2 touchdowns resulted from turnovers, one of them being where they ripped the ball literally from AR-15's hands. And then 1 play scoring drive after that. And then the tip ball pick. And then we scored in 1 play after that. And then there was the pick 6 by Nakobe Dean after that. So, I mean, put that all in there, and my gosh, what a way to end the half. So yeah, I mean, if I'm evaluating our offense, I know I'm nitpicking at this point because they've played well as a whole. The team has, especially the defense. But I don't know if that kind of offensive play can win a championship, and depending on who we're going up against. Now, the same token, I thought that I was a little surprised that JT Daniels didn't play. I thought that the O-line was protecting well enough. And in my mind, we're going to put Stetson in when we're having to scramble. Maybe the D-line is getting some penetration. They're getting to us some, and we need somebody to run. But they were protecting well, so I was surprised. I don't know if maybe that injury is still holding him out, maybe.
No, their language around that injury is so lax and loose. He played, it's fine. It's, no, they bought in so hard on JT Daniels. He's fine. And they know that Stetson Bennett is the guy right now. And they don't want everybody to freak out and say, there's a quarterback battle in Georgia, because they always do that. They're going to be really lackadaisical with their language, make it sound really vague. So you're like, it sounds like he's fine, but maybe not. He's fine.
It's really weird though, because they really haven't tried to make it into like this is the guy, we're going to pick the guy type of language. It's like what I've heard is that they're going to try to play both guys. Essentially, like this is a 2 quarterback system from now on, which I'm fine with if that wins games, right? You kind of put the guy in depending on the situation. I don't know. I've always thought that JT was the more accurate quarterback throwing and better deep balls. And obviously Stetson is better if he's got to scramble. He's got, a better scrambling ability. So a little puzzled as to what's going on there. Obviously things worked out. And this week probably won't be a test. We got Mizzou. I say that, but you never know, but I don't foresee that being an issue. But it'll
be an open book test.
But
with a flashcard.
But hey, maybe it could be kind of one of those games where we can feel that out. Is that something that we want to explore, a 2 quarterback system? Do we want to put in, maybe last week was Stetson's game. Maybe this week is JT's game. I don't know. Florida, on the flip side, Florida falls to 4-4. And Anthony Richardson sustained a concussion in the second half. His status is still unclear. So, Matt, let's go with you first this time. What were your thoughts on this game and kind of where both of these teams are right now?
I feel like this was a snoozer. Usually this game's a little bit closer and a little bit more intense. Granted, it was close until y'all decided to put 24 points up in the second quarter. But Georgia's defense is pretty stout. I am curious as to what that defense will look like when it runs into somebody that will challenge them. And I'm not speaking of like Kentucky trying to challenge them where they, have Chris Rodriguez and they try to run the ball all the time. I'm talking about somebody that's going to challenge them vertically. If you look at the defenses they've faced, Georgia has played, hold that thought, Clemson, South Carolina, nope. Vanderbilt, nope. Arkansas, we thought they were something, not so much. Auburn, it is a bad day for Auburn. You know how Auburn is. Kentucky, Florida, Missouri. I'm not sold on the pass game. Now, granted, Georgia has a very efficient pass rush, but I'm curious what it's going to look like when you play a team with a mobile quarterback that can challenge. They can kind of take over in those situations where the game breaks apart. I think their biggest challenge will probably come against Alabama. If they see them in the SEC championship game, if they get Auburn in the SEC championship game, sorry, Jesse, if they get Auburn in the SEC championship game, it'll be interesting to see which version of Auburn they get. If they get, I don't know, like Ohio State in the CFP, it'll be interesting to see what that defense does then. And it sounds stupid. Granted, by the body of work, I'm still not sold on Georgia. I'm not. And I go strictly off of what I've seen as far as the competition they faced.
In fairness, I think Richardson is one of those type quarterbacks that you mentioned, just looking at his performance this year, but I think it's still a little early. I think it's still a little early to evaluate him, and kind of throwing him in against the Dogs in that defense. I don't know if that was the best thing for him either, his confidence. Obviously he sustained an injury as well, and we'll see how that works out. But Jesse, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this game, it was interesting to me. First half, I was like, wow, look, a turnover. Oh, this is fun. Again, I don't like either team. I don't care. I think it's interesting. I think the chaos would have been great. But my boyfriend is a Georgia fan. We were about to head out. We're like, all right, at halftime, we'll go watch it somewhere. And so he was like, I'm going to take a quick shower. He runs to go take a shower. During his entire shower, the Dogs scored 24 points.
Should have stayed in the shower.
And I'm just like yelling across the house. And he's like, what's happening? I was like, you have to stay in the shower. So that was interesting. I'm just like yelling play by play. But no, I think, the defense for Georgia looks great, right? But I think I can understand a little bit of what Matt's saying too, right? Because the opponents have not been the juggernauts. And we said it at the beginning of the season. We said Georgia's schedule was the fall bake sale. That's what we said. It's just the truth. But the Gators, all of us kind of did at the beginning of the season, maybe a little bit more hype for them. And they thought they were going to have 2 quarterbacks this season. I don't think they have one. I don't think either are the guys.
Dang, Jesse.
Come on. Richardson struggled again going up against the Georgia defense, was probably not the best confidence boost, but his stats, he completed 12 of 20 passes for 82 yards and added 26 more on the ground. Obviously, we mentioned it. He left with an injury, and that's still being evaluated. Jones was a little better coming in late, but he finished 10 for 14 for 112 yards, and he also ran for 22, and that was the team's only touchdown. They're not there. They need a lot of development. Florida's got some issues that they need to definitely take care of.
That's an understatement. They have a ton of issues down in Gainesville.
Yeah. And I don't even know. Do we even get into that right now? I mean,
we might as well. If you're going to talk about it, we already talked about most of what the game is.
Yeah, go for it.
We all know that there's been some rumblings and grumblings down in Gainesville. We had talked earlier in the week about Mullen's response to a reporter asking the question, well, Coach, what about recruiting? And he goes, we'll talk about recruiting when recruiting season gets here, which is coach talk for, we're not talking about anything, but I don't want to really talk to you. And then he canceled a couple media days. Like he had time set aside from the beginning of the season, set aside to get together with the media and talk and field questions. And Todd Grantham, Todd Grantham, a bunch of the coordinators were supposed to talk to the press too. And they shut all that down.
Did you see the eye roll when they said the word recruiting? Oh man, that was something. And
he was so good at recruiting. He was so.
Don't you know every other coach around the country, when he said, "Oh, we're just going to worry about recruiting during recruiting season, not right now." Every other coach is going, "All right, who wants to talk to us?" Right?
Yeah. Every other coach was like, "Great, I already had 5 visits to Florida already planned. Let's bulk up that schedule."
Like, guys, you ever had an old beater car, and when you're in that old beater car and the light comes on, and it's just kind of there, and you see it, and you ignore it. You're like, no, I'm not worried about that. And then another light comes on, and you're like, no, I'm just going to ignore that too. Well, the lights are on in Gainesville, and I'm not sure what's going on with Mullen right now.
Turn the music up, and you can't hear the bad noises.
It's trending the wrong direction. is a great way to put it. I mean, Florida at this point is what 4-4, I think. Yeah, and granted, so is Tennessee and everybody else in the SEC East for the most part. But
They had like
it's
two Heisman guys are up for the Heisman last year.
Yeah.
Well, and the recruiting thing is a hot topic. Like I think I mentioned to you guys earlier. I think the last class, I think he was 6th in the SEC, which if you're Florida is usually not a good thing with the recruiting hotbed down there. And then next year's class is right now slated at 35th in the country, I think. And that's behind schools like Mizzou and Arkansas. So
Gainesville is not a hard place to recruit to.
Right.
It's not.
Exactly. That's the thing, is that people are like, this is not what should be happening. But, it's understandable to have a little bit of a step back after what he lost last year. But when you don't have people coming in, that's a little scary if I'm a Florida fan, which obviously I'm not, but still. We'll see what happens there.
It's definitely a bit disconcerting. By the way, the last 5 games have been a loss to Georgia, a loss to LSU, a win against Vanderbilt, a loss to Kentucky, a win against Tennessee, and a loss to Alabama. That's not keeping you employed in Gainesville.
And maybe I don't know if he just strikes me this way, but Dan Mullen seems like he kind of has that kind of self-imploding where once things go bad, he's just kind of, you can see it in his face. He's got just like a negative attitude towards the whole thing. And he's like, I'm not dealing with that right now. And I'm like, well, you kind of have to. So
you might want to.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on from the Florida hate, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to watch for sure. All right, let's talk about Ole Miss at Auburn. This one was another wild one between these two and involving these teams. Seems like these two teams are always in the middle of crazy games. Auburn winning this one 31-20. Matt getting the point here. Matt Corral went down early in this game with, it wasn't just an apparent ankle injury. I mean, like he was like crying on the field. And so he left and I was like, oh my gosh, he's probably like out for the season. His like reaction. And then he comes out of the locker room and he's miraculously back in the game. Obviously he wasn't 100%. He was hobbling a little bit, but I was just shocked he was on the field, period. Ole Miss also depleted at the wide receiver position, had injury there as well. But, kudos to Auburn. They played strong, solid play from Bo Nix, and a really good game from Tank Bigsby with 140 yards on 23 carries with 1 touchdown. That dude just kind of churns out a consistently good performance every week, just about. Auburn's defense, they did get a pick late by Jalen Simpson to put a stop to Ole Miss's comeback bid. But here is where we kind of get into a little bit of a interesting talking point, and something the SEC Shorts chose to use as their talking point this week. And that was Lane Kiffin's carefree attitude going for it on 4th down.
That was a great skit.
It was so he commented on it, by the way. He's like, great job, guys. This is hilarious. So,
I haven't seen it yet. I got to go watch it.
Oh yeah. You got to watch it. But he went for it on 4th down conversions on Auburn's 20-yard line, 13 and 18. So, I mean, you just calculate the points he missed out on right there. And I know it wouldn't have necessarily been enough to win the game, but you talk about getting points in Jordan-Hare. You never know what that does for momentum. And so with the injury struggles there as well, as sometimes you got to just take the points and not put your defense's backs against the wall, especially in a hostile environment. So I don't know. Jesse, what do you think about this game and about some of these play calls?
I think at some point, like obviously Lane, he is a persona. He is very much plays into what people say about him and he loves it. But I think at some point you have to look, and I know he's probably broken it down to a science or whatever, but like, I don't think it's working all the time. Going for it once or twice, fine. I would say maybe once. Ooh, you can't jeopardize the outcome of a game because you want to show off on fourth down. And I truly think that's what it is. And people, you can come at me and say it's, they broke down the statistics and it's blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, you've got to make some smarter coaching decisions there, especially when your quarterback's not at 100%. You have other injuries. You've got to take the points. It's like you said. And playing in Jordan Hare is not easy. And when you can just put some points on the board, go for that. Build some momentum. Give some confidence to your guys. It's just weird to me. I don't know. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty well-matched game. I mean, you look at the stat line, total yards is very, very similar. Turnovers, similar as well. Turnovers, guys. The time of possession is very close. Same with first down. So overall, I think these teams are very well matched. And had Lane Kiffin not made some of those fourth down calls, who knows? We may have been able to have a different kind of game.
Matt, is it time for old Lane to ditch the analytics?
Nah, I give that a hand wave. I hate that. No. One of the things I appreciate about Lane Kiffin is he's definitely his own guy, and he's going to make decisions on his own terms. I don't necessarily disagree with the fourth quarter or fourth down go for it. Just given what we know about that offense, how high caliber that offense can be, I like the aggression. Most coaches are going to be very conservative. It's kind of nice.
But at this point, do you feel like everyone's expecting it? Like it's to the point now
yes.
where we just know.
Yeah, at this point, yes. But it's one of those situations where I appreciate it out of Lane. I was a little shocked that they didn't get more points in this game. Auburn gave up 464 yards on the ground, and they were only able to convert that to really 2 touchdowns. Kudos to Auburn for playing decent defense, but I was anticipating a little bit more fight at Ole Miss. I was also anticipating a little bit higher score. I think what did I say? I said it was going to be.
You said 35-30.
No, I said 35-30. Okay, I was on the money. So yeah, well, again, Ole Miss should have got about 10 more points, which would have been those field goals. So I don't know.
Exactly. You weren't figuring in the analytics.
I wasn't. I didn't take the analytics into it. I wasn't playing Moneyball. Yeah, this is just one of those situations where I feel like Ole Miss is a good team, but they're like on the cusp of being a great team. And I don't think it's coaching that's getting in the way. I think it might be that talent discrepancy at the moment. Then again, Auburn's coming off a rebuild, so who knows what's going to really happen as far as the long run goes. What this means, though, is that Auburn, with this win, controls their own destiny. And they've got a chance to write that destiny and make a trip to Atlanta if they can beat Alabama.
No, thank you.
She was shaking her head before you even said it.
Shake your head all you want, but
No,
I think we've seen that Bama is vulnerable this year. We've seen it, and every year we always say, "Well, Bama's done. Bama's about to get it," and then Bama will come out and roll out like 48 points on the number 1 defense in the nation. So
I wonder if David Pollack learned his lesson. Remember last year when Waddle went down, he was like, "That's it. Nope,
they're done."
Yeah.
Then his backup, or not backup, but like the number 2 guy ends up winning a Heisman.
Right. Here's the thing with Lane. If I, as a non-Ole Miss fan, I think it's great. It's fun. It's entertaining to watch.
Hilarious.
But if I'm a fan, I'm beginning to get a little short with it right now. I'm like, dude, enough is enough. Like I get maybe going for it if you're on, the 40, 30, whatever, punt doesn't do you much good. Field goals iffy. I get that. Maybe let's go for it then. But man, if you got the points, I mean, if it's a chip shot for your field goal kicker, sometimes you just gotta get the points. But
I like the aggression. It's
like I said, it's fun.
As a non-Ole Miss fan, hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel if Tennessee ran that way.
I'd be mad.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. If Georgia was doing that mess, I'd be like, dude, what is going on here? Oh man.
Sending letters.
All right, let's talk about the final game of the day because we only had 4 SEC games this past weekend. And that was Kentucky at Mississippi State. Mississippi State winning this one 31-17. Nobody got the point because we didn't give them a chance. And, given what we've seen this year, why would you? So Yeah, I mean, turnovers killer for Kentucky because despite Josh Ali's 75-yard punt return for a touchdown at the beginning, which began the scoring of the game, they really struggled down the stretch. 4 turnovers total, 3 of them interceptions by Will Levis. It's almost kind of like you guys remember at the beginning of the season, like the first couple of weeks, Kentucky won those games, but we were sitting back like, this is kind of an odd thing going on here. I mean, we've seen flashes of brilliance from Will Levis, but at the same time, he'll struggle. He'll throw a silly pick or whatever. Now, I guess, obviously, let's not take anything away from Mississippi State's defense. And then let's talk about Will Rogers, right? So the dude set a record, an SEC record, completing 92% of his passes. He went 36 for 39. I think the previous record wasn't Josh Dobbs and one other guy were tied. I think that's it's for 30 plus attempts is what the record is, the percentage of passes. So yeah, I mean, at 344 yards, a touchdown, air raid offense is doing really well, and honestly, a lot of rushing as well this game. So which has not really been there for Mississippi State this year. They were able to find some success there. Obviously, the offense hitting on all cylinders, starting to find a bit of a groove in the rushing game, as we mentioned, and then also defense playing well. So right now, Mississippi State is a hot team. So they're going to be interesting to watch. Let's hear what Mike Leach had to say after the game.
You came in thinking that the rushing attack would be more of a trick, but it ended up being a treat for your offense tonight.
Not really a trick. Some of it you take what the defense gives us, and I know that these guys, I know that they're really good against the run, but we felt like that they were going to have to drop some people to cover the pass, and and it was the type of thing where we were lucky enough to get them, I thought, a little off balance, and then run, pass, kind of mixed it up. And the thing was some of the key plays, just executing key plays is what allowed that to happen, not really a rushing play or a passing play. And converting third downs was really key to us today.
Coach, you mentioned that execution. At one point, Will Rogers, I believe, was 31 of 37 in this game. He didn't have an incompletion since the second possession of the first quarter. Why was he so efficient tonight?
Oh, I thought he had a lot of help. I thought, other than penalties, I thought we protected pretty good. And then the other thing, I thought the receivers bounced around and did their job,
He's 36 and 39, so I was actually wrong there.
Then I thought Woody played really well. Like key situations, Woody Marks, I thought really did some good things.
Did you suggest that children maybe rethink their Halloween costumes and go as Will Rogers?
Well, they can. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Will Rogers? I think your kid had it right, but I think that Will Rogers wouldn't be, and that's kind of a Treasure Island sort of name, Will Rogers. So that would work out good.
Let's see if we can get him to gold. Thank you, Coach.
All right, Bubba.
Oh man!
You just make up those questions.
What the hell was that?
Everybody, they know if they're going to interview Mike Leach, they have to have a weird question because they want that.
You have to have.
They
you
just
have
make
to have
up
it ready.
Stupid stuff.
Yeah. So that was about 2 minutes long, which honestly runs a little long. Most coaches, I would not play a clip that long, but when it's Mike Leach, it's fine. You don't worry about it going a little bit over because it's just him.
Most coaches won't talk that long.
Yeah.
Not post game.
Right. Yeah. So interesting analysis there from Coach Leach. Matt, let's start with you this time. What are your thoughts on the game and Mike Leach?
I'm on tilt about whatever the hell that was because
your guess is just as good as mine.
That was a rhetorical journey, is what I love the
all
over the place
key plays. It was key plays. I'm like,
oh my god,
what does that mean?
Wasn't
key
pass
plays
or rush.
Wasn't pass or rush. It was key plays.
I also appreciated how he managed to get a Treasure Island reference in there.
Yes.
There's going to be a pirate at some point. So that's very on brand for Mike Leach. Can I take a moment to talk to the University of Kentucky football team for just a moment?
I think you should.
Please do.
I'm going to quote Jesse here. Baby, what is you doing? What is this? What
Not
is
holding
this?
the ball.
This is a Kentucky team that we thought was going to be competitive in the SEC East. They've got a great record. They're in the top 25. The coaching's been great. And then you come out and this happens. Now, granted, you threw the ball. You threw 3 interceptions at Levis. And then Rodriguez had 34 yards on 8 carries, 15 of which were in one go. Mississippi State's defense is not known for being able to stop the run. In fact, I'm not even sure if we've talked good things about the Mississippi State defense this season.
I know they had one.
I mean, they got 11 guys out there wearing jerseys in spots, so they must have a defense. I don't know what happened. I don't get it. I was reading the recap that ESPN put up, and Levis said, and I think this is pretty telling. We didn't match and he said this is a quote. We didn't match the intensity. I felt like we got pushed around. Oh, this is Stoops that said this. Sorry, not Levis. We were not able to run the ball. Yeah. They ran the ball. Yeah. They made competitive plays, outcoached us, outplayed us in every area. So overall, just a very defeat, unquote. And it's just, he's right. They got pushed around. It's interesting to see that air raid offense working like it's supposed to. And let's remember, this is a Mississippi State team that at the beginning of the year, we were like, well, they're garbage. There's no shot that they do anything. Now they've rattled off a win against a ranked 15th Texas A&M. Now they've rattled off beating a 12th ranked UK team. They got Auburn coming up in 2 weeks. They got Ole Miss at the end of the season.
Mississippi State has been posting it all over their social media. They're the only team in the country right now with 3 wins against teams that are currently in the top 25. Yep. The only team in the country.
Yep. And here's the kicker. If they manage to find a way to win 3 more games, which they've got Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee State, and Ole Miss left, you're looking at an 8-win Mississippi State team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you anticipate that at the beginning of the season when we saw them lose to Memphis? And
I would have said 8 losses.
And when they lost to LSU and all that, would you have said 8 wins? Heck no.
No, and we're actually going to talk about that in listener feedback. Somebody wanted us to talk about that very topic. So I kind of got egg on my face because I said Kentucky was going to win the remainder of their games and go to a great bowl game, which they still may do well. They still may finish well. But
beat Tennessee.
I was going to say things are looking pretty questionable. Jesse, what do you think about them and Mississippi State's ability to kind of turn things around?
Mean, just looking at the stat line is incredible. UK had the ball for less than 20 minutes. 18 minutes and 50 seconds time of possession. Only 216 yards compared to Mississippi State's 438.
Yeah,
and
that's
4
a crazy
turnovers, stat. 3 of which were interceptions thrown by their quarterback. That's bad. That's bad. It's like Levis is like feast or famine. I just don't understand. Also, those interceptions and turnovers in general are giving Mississippi State incredible field position. You can't do that. Not when you're trying to win a ball game. And it's like you guys said, the air raid offense was working, but also their run game was finally working. This was their second game this season where they put up multiple rushing touchdowns. So the offense is clicking over there. I am astonished that we are talking about them positively at this point because, at the beginning of the season, I thought this was just going to be an abysmal season for them. I thought Mike Leach might be very much in the hot seat, and looks like I was wrong. Potentially. Probably.
By the way, guys, I want to point out that Will Levis currently has 14 touchdowns. He has 9 interceptions.
Well, it seems like they're
playing like, what's his name? Patrick Mahomes. Woo.
It seems like when they come, it's in droves, though. It's crazy.
True.
All right. Well, that does it for last week's games. The current pick'em standings, I've got 26 points. Matt has 23 and Jesse has 22. We're kind of getting bunched up here. So exciting, and lots of points up for grabs this week and in the next few weeks. So yeah, we've got a lot of news this week. It's a pretty full news segment. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Here's the news.
All right. Well, the first bit of news, as you might expect, is the playoff committee has released its first CFP rankings of the season. So this is the first official set of rankings, the first ones that really matter. That AP stuff has been fun to look at, but really doesn't mean anything. So here they are in order. We've got number 1, Georgia; number 2, Alabama; number 3, Michigan State; number 4, Oregon; number 5, Ohio State; number 6, Cincinnati. Yep, at number 6. And then number 7, Michigan; number 8, Oklahoma; number 9, Wake Forest; number 10, Notre Dame. And then the rest of the SEC teams, we've got number 13, Auburn; number 14, Texas A&M. At 16, Ole Miss; 17, Mississippi State; and then number 18 is Kentucky. All right. What are you guys' reactions to that? Are you surprised? Jesse, I know you're pleased. Let's start with you first, because I know you're very pleased with what you're seeing.
I'm so happy. I was nervous a little bit. I didn't think we would necessarily be 2. I thought we might come in at 4. Just given the Texas A&M loss there, but expected Georgia to be number 1, with Michigan State beating Michigan this past weekend, which I was thrilled about. Go green, go white. Very happy about that one. I have to admit, I didn't necessarily think Oregon would be 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed something. I don't know.
It's just their win against Ohio State has got to be it. I mean, apparently the committee is really valuing that.
They always value Ohio State for some reason.
That's the only top 25 team they've faced.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Also, Cincy's got to be pissed.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How mad are you?
Listen.
I mean, yes, you almost lost to unranked Navy, and like, yes, I have to love Navy by default, but like,
yeah.
But still, I'd be mad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they thought, okay, maybe we won't stay at 2 like we've been in AP, but
right.
Maybe we'll, like you said, maybe we'll still be in the top 4. And then they drop them to 6, and I can't imagine the shock of Cincy fans. Matt, what's your reaction?
I'm gonna have to go with the old classic. They ain't played nobody, Paul. None of them have. Cincinnati's played Notre Dame. That's the only ranked top 25 team.
They should not be that ranked, that high.
Sorry, talking is difficult. So Notre Dame's it. That's all they've played that's ranked. Michigan State, let me pull up their stuff. Miami, when they were in the top 25. Michigan, which was the top 10 team. Old khaki pants with a steak and milk. Son of a gun. Oregon has played Ohio State, and that's literally it, because the Pac-12 is garbage.
And they stumbled against Stanford, right? Wasn't that it?
Right.
Yeah.
Play your football at a decent time of night. And then Ohio State's lost to Oregon, and that's all they've played, except for Penn State, obviously. But why are we even have the I don't understand why we're even having this conversation. We know it's going to be an SEC. It's going to be an SEC-led CFP. It is every year. We're always in the mix. Now, if Georgia can hold on, if Bama can find a way to sneak in with 2 losses, or if Georgia can sneak in with 1 loss, I don't see why you don't put both the SEC champion and the SEC runner-up in there this year. Unless, I think
you'll have to.
Especially over a Cincinnati team that has literally played nobody.
Well, this ranking tells me what the committee thinks, and if putting Alabama at number 2 tells me that unless it's just like a thrashing in the title, obviously assuming that everybody makes it there, and it will be Georgia Bama, unless it's just a thrashing that both teams are going to make it regardless.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. I feel like the committee said a lot with the rankings that they put out there. They said a lot about their opinion of Alabama. They said a lot about what their opinion is of Cincinnati. But I think they also kind of
they made that clear last year.
Yeah, I think they've kind of given themselves some wiggle room though, in a certain to a certain extent, which we can talk about later as far as Cincy making it. But yeah, I'm a little surprised at Oklahoma at number 8, just because I how much they value Oklahoma. But again, Oklahoma's been flirting with dropping a game for a long time. You have to feel that it's coming one of these times.
By the way, Wake Forest is 8-0 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
I know the ACC is not known for its premier college football, but the Deacons at 8-0. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's going to be something interesting to watch. This is always a fun time of year because we actually get to kind of see what the mentality of the committee is, and I know it's different personnel. It's not the same people as the last year, but it seems like a lot of the stuff that they value is the same in terms of schedule and stuff like that. All right. Our next item is talking about Brian Harsin and Mike Leach. And look, we're not going to get into like discussion about COVID or vaccines, but the reality is that both of these coaches have not discussed their vaccination status. And both schools are requiring proof of vaccination by December the 8th. Except in limited circumstances that legally entitle an employee to a medical or religious exemption. Auburn and Mississippi State are doing this to be in accordance with federal guidance, I presume because of federal contracts, which both schools maintain. So obviously this is after the regular season, of course, but it's becoming a bit of a distraction. It would have to be as you get closer and closer. I mean, we're within a month here, or just about. And it's got to affect recruiting because we see what happened at Washington State. They fired Nick Rolovich because of the same thing. So, and Brian Harsin is a first-year head coach. And, it's got to be difficult to recruit, whether you intend it to be that way or not. When you haven't divulged this kind of status here, it's got to be in people's minds. They're like, well, I don't know if you're going to be there next year. So should I, kind of hold out? But anyway, it's something to keep in mind. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
It's tough. I mean, I don't know the school's rules as far as recruiting either on visits or anything like that, or if you have to be vaccinated or what families themselves feel about. It's a very hot, polarizing topic. And so, yeah, as you get down to the nitty gritty of it, you never know what a recruit will feel one way or the other, or their families or anything like that. I think you're right. It comes down to federal mandates that the schools have to comply with. Also, state universities have to comply with. So interesting to see what happens. And I think it's also interesting from the standpoint that a lot of the universities are doing campaigns to get students vaccinated, to get they're giving out vouchers to stores to get them vaccinated. And so I'm sure if they're not, they are probably feeling pressure from not only the NCAA or from the state, but also from their athletic departments and their school's governing body as well.
Right. I think a lot of recruiting decisions are based on coaches and stability in the program.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
I think that most recruits at the end of the day don't care. You're going to have probably a minority that are going to be concerned about this particular issue. But I think most recruits are just going to be like, can I get playing time? Is this going to help me get to the league? What do I have to do to, are you going to be able to develop me as a player? I don't think they're concerned about whether or not the head coach is vaccinated or not. With that being said, the federal mandates and all that business, it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. Because the last thing any of us want to see is another situation like what happened with Nick Rolovich at Washington State. We don't want that to happen to anybody. So certain concessions have to be made. Maybe people have to compromise on some things. It is what it is. it's one of those situations where it's become a political issue, which it shouldn't be a political issue, but it's become a political issue. So someone's going to have to, make some concessions, I guess.
Yeah. But even all that stuff aside, like COVID itself aside, the fact that this kind of creates uncertainty, I have to believe affects recruiting. It affects possibly even the mood in the locker room. Obviously, Mississippi State's playing well right now, so in Auburn too. So we haven't necessarily seen that take effect on the field, but it has to be in people's minds a little bit. Wondering if your coach is going to be there. So I don't know. That's going to be something interesting, and obviously it's going to unfold more in the next coming weeks, one way or the other. And
there's there's one other news thing, and I know it's kind of hot off the press, and it's sad. It's horribly sad, but former Alabama player Henry Ruggs, who is now with the Raiders, or he's been since released, was involved in a drunk driving accident that resulted in the death of another person. He was at the wheel. It has come out today that he was driving like 156 miles per hour, just, less than a minute prior to the point of collision. I think at the point of collision, it was around like 125 or so. It did result in the death of the other person in a different car. Ruggs, apparently, according to reports, it's a miracle that he survived. In his mugshot, he is wearing a neck brace and obviously has some damage to his face, but he has been released by the Raiders at this point, which is not surprising. He will face charges, obviously, for not only DUI, but also what I can only assume will be vehicular manslaughter.
Right.
And, it's a sad situation for anybody involved. I can't even imagine what the family of the victim feels at this time. I don't know that they've released the name or anything about the victim since this morning. I haven't seen anything. But yeah, just, everybody be careful out there, make smart decisions. And, fame and fortune, obviously it doesn't always produce wise decision-making. So just everybody be careful. And it's definitely a disappointing day for football across the board.
Right. Yeah, that's rough. And obviously we're thinking about all those involved, and
Uber and Lyft is a thing.
Yes,
So
yes.
This is a thing, especially in a big city.
You don't have an excuse.
Absolutely.
If you're going to be dumb, don't do it where it's going to get
Taxis
somebody
are
else killed.
still there.
They are still,
You can get a taxi. I got a taxi the other day.
Yeah, and if you're close, you can even walk. There's tons of options. So yes, please.
You can pay for a hotel wherever you are.
Yeah.
You were there, or you sleep outside. I don't know.
Lots of alternatives. So bear that in mind, of course. All right, let's go ahead and get into our opinion segment.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Love the song in the background.
I know it's I think I enjoy that just as much as it's just your opinion, man. I enjoy that as well. All right, so our topic this week, and I didn't phrase it in a definitive statement because I think we can all take our own positions on it, and that is Cincinnati will or will not make the playoffs. Matt, let's start with you. What are your thoughts? Is Cincinnati, if you had to say it, if you had to call it right now? All righty then.
For those that can't see.
Yeah, for those of you that are in the auditory format, what I'm doing is I'm holding up a picture of Bugs Bunny saying no.
No.
Let's take a second to kind of unwrap this. Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati. Is it Cincinnati University or Cincinnati? How does that work?
It's an excellent question. I think it's the University of, but I may be incorrect.
University of Cincinnati, I think.
Don't quote
me.
I'm so sorry.
This is not a Cincinnati podcast. Come on.
Listen, I am in no way, shape, or form concerned about Cincinnati Twitter / YouTube / anything coming after us for bad mouthing Cincinnati. Cincinnati is
University
in
of.
Thank you. Cincinnati is in the American Conference, American Athletic Conference. That's with such big schools as, UAB, UCF, a couple others that are down there. And this is a team that every year it seems that they're always kind of nipping at the heels of the big guys. They don't
almost took us down last year.
Unless
the bowl game.
unless they play somebody of merit, then they got no reason to be in the playoff. I don't think they'll make the playoff. The committee has shown in the past that they don't put a lot of stock into these group of 5 schools that run the table and look good against the other ones. It's just they typically don't look good. Now there are a couple of exceptions. Auburn ran into a buzzsaw a couple of years ago when they played. Was it UCF? I think, or
yes, UCF.
Yeah, UCF. So that's an aberration. But
Gus,
for the most
current
part,
employer.
Yeah, but obviously, I just don't see how the committee is going to let them in. So no, I say that Cincinnati is not making the playoff, even if they do run the table.
Jesse, what do you think?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They made it clear last year, and then they put just the last nail in the coffin this year. The committee has made it clear to Cincinnati that they are not getting in. And last year they said, well, they didn't play any Power 5 teams, right? Like they didn't play anybody. We're not going to put them in. This year they played 2 so far. They're still not getting in because, yeah, maybe you can beat them, but we really don't care. You have to join them. That is what the committee is saying right now. You have to join. And if you don't, teams like Cincinnati, teams like UCF of years past, you are not getting in unless this gets expanded to 8 teams. And right now, the committee is not indicating that it's going to go to 8 teams. So you better start writing letters to the Power 5 to see who's going to let you in. Because no, I don't think they're getting in. And I think the committee has made that very clear.
Yeah. Well, you both said that they're not. So I guess I have to say that they are.
You don't have to.
No.
You don't have to.
So actually,
this is an SEC podcast. Talk bad about them, Wes. Just do it.
No, I'm going to say that they are, but it has nothing to do with their schedule. It has everything to do with the potential chaos that's all around them. If you look at, there's 3 Big Ten teams: Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Obviously, some of them have already played each other, but you have the potential down the road for them to kind of cannibalize each other. And you kind of clear those teams out. Oklahoma is probably going to drop a game, so they're not going to slip in there. And I don't know. I could also see Oregon losing. Another game from here on out.
I still think with amongst the chaos, I still think the committee is going to pick Power 5. I don't think they're going to pick Cincinnati. Well, I mean, look at last year.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that they are, but that is the only scenario where they make it in. Yeah. If there's just mass chaos in front of them.
And I'd be pissed. If I were a Cincinnati fan, I'd be very mad if I was.
Right. Well, what was it? What year was that when they let Washington in? Remember that? And I think Bama smoked them in the first round of the playoffs.
Was that 19, 18?
I don't remember when that was, but that was kind of one of those outlier years.
One of the years that we lost to Clemson.
Was it? Okay.
I think I could be wrong.
Gotcha.
By the way, I'm sorry, Wes. I didn't mean to cut you off. What is this? What is this?
Is it a seal?
No, it's a bear cat. This is what their mascot is.
That's a bear cat. Okay.
That's a bear cat. Do you know where the bear cat is indigenous? Asia. Why is your mascot a weird looking rodent thing from Asia?
To be fair, ours is not indigenous to Alabama.
True.
That doesn't matter though.
What's the alternative, Jesse? I mean, I can't imagine them bringing in like this giant tank of Crimson Tide into the stadium.
Yellowhammers? I don't know. The state bird? I don't know.
It could be something. Thing is?
Yeah, it's the state bird.
Yeah. That to me would be the best intro
and
ever.
A drink. A delightful drink.
Colorado has the Buffalo, Oklahoma has the wagon, and then Alabama has like a tank of water. Crimson
I think
Tide
that's great. Little
rolled in.
aquarium.
The
I mean,
Kool-Aid
I'm
man.
still trying to
Just
figure
make
out
it the
what a
Kool-Aid man.
Hoosier
Done.
is.
Oh man,
Product placement's already there. You don't even have to do an NIL on that. It's already built in.
And then and then all of a sudden the Kool-Aid man just explodes out of the
right, and it drowns the other team. Done.
I love it.
That took
takes a little bit of a little bit of field cleanup, but it'll soak in pretty fast. So, yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine. All right, so that'll be interesting to watch as the weeks unfold. And if the chaos does happen, what does the committee do then? Do they slide them up, or do they? I don't know. It's
me and Jesse are both like, nah, bro.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
I want it to happen, not necessarily for them to get in, but for the possible scenario to work out for them, just so there's all kinds of controversy and conversation about it.
Let's go to an 18 playoff and watch them get bounced in the first round.
As Mike Leach said, every little tiny town can do a softball tournament. Why can't we figure out how to do, this big level tournament? So, all right. So we had a couple of listener feedback comments, and let's check those out.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right. So, Matt, you'll like this one. Sam Al-Salim says Tennessee can beat Kentucky and Alabama can lose the Iron Bowl.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Aggressive, Sam.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's right, though.
Yeah. So
I'm aware.
He's not
I don't
wrong.
want to talk about
He's not wrong.
Boy. If you had asked me last week, I would have said probably not about Kentucky beating Kentucky for Tennessee. But the way Kentucky looked last week, it's entirely possible. And as a Tennessee fan, you got to be, kind of wringing your hands a little bit about this game because it's definitely possible.
Oh, I'm wringing my hands about a lot of games coming up, Wes. We're going to talk about one or 2 weeks that we're going to have a discussion about. I got news for you, buddy.
Well, it's going to be in Neyland, so they'll just throw golf balls at us. So right,
mustard. We don't throw golf balls. It's mustard. Please if you're going to insult my team, do it right.
I mean, both. They did both.
Both of them. So
it's sample size. There was more mustard than there was golf balls.
The golf
ball gets all the press because it hits the coach.
Golf balls filled with mustard.
I had a
Kirby
bottle.
Smart will throw it back in.
Listen. I had a bottle full of pee thrown at me at Florida. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh gosh.
I'm aware, Sam, that Alabama could lose the Iron Bowl. Do you want to know a secret? That's a possibility every single year.
It's true. It's one of those rivalry games. Where is the Iron Bowl this year? Where's it being played? I want to say it's in Bryant-Denny, but I'm not.
I pray to God it is.
I'm not sure.
Let's check our pocket computers.
Because I don't know. If I was a Bama fan, I would feel a lot better if it was at Bryant-Denny. Just the way things, obviously the way things go.
They need to play that thing at Legion Field like they're supposed to and be
better. Like a neutral site.
It's injured there.
Oh, is it really? Oh man.
Oh Lord. There's going to be some toilet paper flying through the air on Toomer's Corner that Saturday night.
All right. Well, I mean, gosh, I feel like there's a bunch of these interesting ones coming up because, as we've said almost every week, the SEC is drunk and nobody really knows what's going on.
The whole NCAA.
The whole NCAA, yeah. That's right.
The NCAA has turned into Animal House.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Bluto's in the corner downing a fifth of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
And then Jody Hendricks says that we should talk about how Mississippi State is turning around their season, which I thought was a great talking point. We started to get into earlier, but as you mentioned, the loss to Memphis early this year, which
shouldn't have happened.
Egregious calls in that game. One in particular.
By the way, did y'all know that's the same officiating crew that was officiating the Tennessee LSU game, the Tennessee Ole Miss game?
No, I did not.
That's the same crew.
Yeah. Well, they've been under a lot of fire for sure. The LSU game.
They should train the umpire that was behind the plate last night for the Braves game to be an SEC official because that man was on it. He was calling a fantastic game.
Whether you agreed with the balls and strikes or not, he at least he gave reasons every time. It wasn't just ball and strike. He would be like, "That's a little bit outside. That's inside." Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I heard that.
He was great. I loved him.
Yeah,
Come to the SEC, bud. Football.
That's we talk about baseball history. When the Braves won in '95, the guy who called the behind the plate in that game was like the human rain delay of calls. Like it would be a pitch and it would be a strike, and like the ball is on its way back to the pitcher before the umpire's like,
I remember that.
Strike.
Yeah.
Yep. And he couldn't even hear him. It was inaudible. It was just kind of it was so weird. But I'll never forget that game. But yeah, so at the LSU game the week after that, they almost came back. I mean, they were on the march and they just couldn't quite get it done at the end. Obviously, Bama was a beatdown, so we'll just kind of leave that one as is. But they could perceivably have one loss at this point.
They beat Texas A&M in Kyle Field.
In Kyle Field, yes.
The week before we lost, or 2 weeks before we lost. To A&M at Kyle Field. I mean,
could you imagine how weird life would be if we were looking at a one-loss Mississippi State team?
Oh, well, the conversation would be a lot different. I can tell you that.
The conversation would be so weird.
And if I'm a Mississippi State fan, I'm very hopeful because I think we're seeing incremental progress. It's not like, bam, they're knocking it out of the park, but they're definitely, in my opinion, better than last year.
They're trusting the process.
Exactly. And we saw how many guys left last year. I don't know if y'all remember that. They even talked about it in it wasn't even one of their games. It was another game. We were talking about Mississippi State and like all the guys who had just left, they're like, I'm not doing this air raid stuff. I'm out of here. And so the guys that are there are buying in and it seems to be taking effect. So I'm happy if I'm a Mississippi State fan. We'll see how things go next year. But, I mean, they have an opportunity to finish strong this year against some really quality opponents. You got Arkansas next, which, jury's still out, I suppose, on them. Auburn, Tennessee State, and then Ole Miss, obviously, the Egg Bowl to finish the season.
It's going to be a good Egg Bowl.
It is. I am really looking forward to that. And when Lane and Mike Leach both got hired, I was like, this makes the Egg Bowl so much more interesting.
The week's press conferences.
Yes. Because what was it? I think before them, wasn't it? It was Matt Luke and Joe Moorhead, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like, don't get me wrong. I love Matt Luke at O-line coach at Georgia, but not quite the same personality as Lane over there. So,
no.
So that's going to be a fun one to watch. So looking forward to that. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming games.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, the first game coming up next week is Mizzou at 4-4, 1-3 in the conference at Georgia, 8-0, 6-0 in the conference. That's noon on ESPN. Mizzou's defense is really bad, which I think is going to be good, a good tune-up for whoever's back there, whether it be Stetson or JT. I'd like to see JT start, but hey, whatever. We'll see who gets the nod. And then I think Georgia's defense is going to be able to key in on Beatty, kind of take that away. And I don't see Mizzou being able to do a lot. Now they might get, something later on, or they might have, there was a couple of moments in, I think it was specifically the South Carolina game where Georgia had a few weak moments on the back end, like, as you mentioned, Matt, in secondary. So that might happen, but I'm going to go with the shutout here. I got Georgia winning 49-0. Jesse, what you got?
This game's going to be boring. There's no point in watching it. UGA 45-6.
Wow.
It's the truth.
Jesse will not be on the marketing team for this game.
No.
Matt, what do you got?
I was originally going to put a lower score because I'm not sold on UGA's offense. Their defense gives them too many short fields and too many opportunities. Either way, I think I'm going to say UGA rolls in this one easy. Mizzou gets a late garbage time touchdown to make it closer. So 42-10 Georgia.
All right. Liberty at 7-2 at Ole Miss at 6-2, noon on SEC Network. And yes, Hugh Freeze visiting the grounds of Ole Miss once again. This one's interesting. I think they expect a lot of points to be scored in this one. Both teams high-powered offenses. I am going to go with Ole Miss 42-28. Jesse, what you got?
Fathers, watch your daughters in Oxford.
Wow.
Keys and Lane are going to be out on the prowl. I am trusting the Lane train on this one. I'm going Ole Miss 45-21.
You think they're going to be like on the town together, like each other's wingman?
I can only hope.
Surely those two don't like hang out.
Probably not. But hey, what a fun thing that would be, though.
They might be in a group text together.
I think aren't all the Saban former head coach? Or
I think you're right.
All in.
You're right.
Are they all in a big text group together? Like just
I know Kirby and Lane are. I think it's more than that, though. I think like you said, it's a group of them. Matt, what you got?
Yeah. I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to enjoy this trip back to Oxford. So yeah, I don't foresee Liberty giving them a lot of trouble. I haven't looked at Liberty's stats or any of that business. I'm just going off my gut of what we know out of Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is going to be looking for a little bit of retribution after last week. So I'm going to say Ole Miss wins this thing 48-14.
Okay. All right. Next we have Auburn at 6-2, 3-1 in the conference at Texas A&M, 6-2, also 3-2 in the conference. That is a 3:30 kickoff on CBS. So that is CBS's game of the week. So I think Vegas has A&M winning this one actually, and it's A&M in a close one. But I don't know. I just got a feeling Auburn they're on a mission. They have a path forward. And if they can continue the momentum, who knows? I am going to go with Auburn winning this one 31-28. Jesse, what do you have?
Color me triggered. But I'm going to go with Texas A&M. I'm going to agree with Vegas on this one. I just think it's at Kyle Field. If it were at Jordan Hare, I would probably pick Auburn, but I'm going to go with Texas A&M in a close one, 28-24.
Okay. Matt, what you got?
I was feeling pretty confident about my field, and then I remembered this is the game's being played at Kyle Field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on a moment. I'm going to stick with Auburn. But I'm going to say the score is 24-21. So tighten it up a little bit.
All right. Well, that's a fun one. All right. Next we got Mississippi State 5-3, 3-2 in the conference at Arkansas, 5-3, 1-3 in the conference. That is 4:00 on SEC Network. This is difficult. I think it's going to be close. It is in Fayetteville. And that may be the deciding factor. I got Arkansas winning this one 35-28. Jesse, what do you have?
No, I think the air raid offense, I think it has its moment, even in Fayetteville. I'm picking Mississippi State 31-28.
Okay. Matt?
I think we're going to be in for another good Mike Leach post-game segment here, because I think Mississippi State's going to win this one too. Excuse me. I'm getting choked up about it, thinking about Mike Leach talking about pirate movies. So I'm going to say Mississippi State wins this thing 24-20.
All right. Yeah. I mean, those are always enjoyable clips no matter what. So in some ways, I kind of hope for that so I can grab another one of those. So, all right. Next, we have LSU 4-4, 2-3 in the conference at Alabama, 7-1, 4-1 in the conference, 7:00 on ESPN. Yeah, I think Bama's going to take care of this one. I think LSU was kind of playing with some emotion there for a little bit for Coach O, but I don't see them being able to have anything for Bama. And I got Bama winning this one 41-21. Jesse?
I will be there. I don't know if I'll be in the game yet. I will certainly be in Tuscaloosa for this game, and
Nice.
potentially scalping some tickets to get inside Bryant-Denny for the first time since 2016. So very excited, but yeah. But I'm picking the Tide, 42-23.
Okay. Matt, what do you got?
Jesse, I hope you're ready to be disappointed, kid, because LSU's winning this ball game.
Not even you are that silly.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But boy, wouldn't it be fun to watch LSU beat Bama? Just send Coach O off into the sunset with a win over Nick Saban. Yeah, Bama, I don't think is going to have too much trouble here. Bama's going to win 45-20.
All right. All right. Next we have Tennessee at 4-4, 2-3 in the conference at Kentucky, 6-2, 4-2 in the conference. That is also 7:00 on ESPN2. All right. And this is one in Kroger Field at night. It gets kind of crazy up there. I do think it's a good game, though. I think this one's kind of a back and forth. Just how Kentucky looked in the last game, though, I might regret this, but I'm going to go with Kentucky in a close one, 31-28. Jesse?
Yeah, I have the same feelings. They did not look good last week. And the only reason I'm picking Kentucky is because it is in Kroger Field. And they looked so bad last week that I think this week's practice is going to be brutal. And hopefully they tune up just a little bit. And Levis starts to actually throw the ball to his teammate. So I'm going to go with the Wildcats 34-28 in a close one.
All right, Matt, what you got?
Let me paint the picture for you here.
Okay.
Tennessee had a bye week last week. We've been banged up. We have an opportunity to rest up. Got some people back. Our offense has looked pretty good. Defense has looked pretty good. Aside from a couple of miscues here and there, I feel like we've looked a lot better than we did at the beginning of the season. With that being said, the line on this game is even. When I checked it this afternoon, the line was at -2. It was in favor of Kentucky by 2. The last time Tennessee was an underdog by 2 points was when we played Missouri, and we smoked the absolute tar out of Missouri. So I'm going to go with the trend here. I'm going to say Tennessee wallops the Wildcats and beats them 45-20.
Wow.
Setting up a big matchup with them Bulldogs the week after.
Not just a win, but a statement
win. It's going to be a statement win.
Wow. Tennessee is for real. Tennessee is back.
Whoa. Let's chill with that talk. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm pretty confident we're going to beat them.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I'm really excited to watch this one.
Yeah.
So. All right. So Florida, 4-4, as we mentioned, 2-4 in the conference at South Carolina, also 4-4, but 1-4 in the conference. That is 7:30 on SEC Network. Guys, who would have thought at this point in the season that Florida and South Carolina would have the same record? Now, granted, I know they haven't looked the same, and it's a little bit different, but still, the records are the same overall. I don't think that necessarily has a bearing on this game, though. I think Florida, as we've mentioned in a few other games, talked about people having bad games and then having practice and a lot of extra reps and stuff like that to try and improve. I got Florida winning this one. Do not put that 35-17. What you got, Jesse?
Yeah, I think the Gators are going to need a confidence boost this week. I think, again, it's going to be one of those things where practice is going to be pretty brutal. Obviously, I don't think Richardson will be in, but we'll see what happens. I think they can take care of the Gamecocks pretty well. So I'm going with the Gators 31-17.
All right, Matt, what you got?
You're going to hear Sandstorm once at the beginning of this game, and then it's going to be bad for South Carolina after that point. However, I don't think that Florida, given the situation that's going on in Florida right now, especially the situation at quarterback, I don't foresee Florida putting up the points that you guys are saying. So I'm going to say Florida wins this thing 24-10.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it for the upcoming games of this weekend. Yeah. And that'll be interesting to see how all of these go. So that does it for this week's episode. And let's go ahead and get you guys out of here with some contact info. If you guys would like to hit us up on email, please do so at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook, facebook.com/Pigskins and Pageantry. We're on Twitter at PPSCC Podcast, also Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget, we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. Appreciate you guys listening. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. We'd greatly appreciate that, increase our visibility and opportunity to have conversations with more great people like you guys. So until next time, this is Wes. Go Braves and go Dogs.
Hey.
We are world champions. But most importantly, if you need to find me on Saturday, you can find me at Innisfree with a Sabanade in my hand. I cannot wait to be back in Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide.
There is a drink called a Sabanade. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I hate it. We hates it, Precious. Yeah, let's beat Kentucky. I want to rip them guys apart. I want to ruin them. Just break them in half. Please.